Hello everyone, my name is Brett Keane. It's been a very long time since I've done any recordings or videos. I've been basically just relaxing, chilling out. I'm not playing World of Warcraft anymore. I actually froze my account. I figured I'd talk about some things. I wanted to talk about why it is that some people have become atheists, and I also want to talk about what the world would be like if it didn't have religion in it, as well as a few other points as I go along. There's something I've noticed from a lot of atheists who seem to have a hard time admitting this, but it's a lot of atheists who won't admit that the reason why they lack a belief in deities is not just because of science, not just because of the fact that they think things are a myth or the lack of evidence, but also for personal reasons. There's people out there who've had a very difficult, challenging life. I am one of those people. I started out finding the motivation to question things by having personal challenging things happen in my life, very difficult things. Sometimes things happen to people where there was absolutely no necessary reason for it happening, but it happens nonetheless, and you have no explanation for it. I think the problem is that religious people, whenever they invent their gods, no matter what group it is, they tend to give it anthropomorphic abilities and attributes, such as all-loving, all-powerful, and all these different abilities that make the character seem like it is the embodiment of love and compassion and kindness. Some people will attribute their god to being a god who is willing to put its own life on the line in order to somehow better us as a species, such as Jesus Christ, such as Muhammad, Allah, that kind of stuff, as you've probably read in the Quran. Muhammad, of course, being the prophet, and Allah, of course, being the God. When you hear all these things, and then you live through a life that is challenging with many obstacles and unnecessary suffering and pain, and not just to yourself, but what you witness other people go through, it makes you question. So there are a lot of people out there who were motivated to doing the research and study into what they believe in or what they lack a belief in due to personal reasons. I find that there are a lot of atheists who try to keep the answers cut and dry when dealing with religious people because they're afraid that religious people will say, oh, so you're mad or you're aggravated or you're annoyed, so you don't believe because you're not logical. It is logical to feel pain and then react in a way that you're not happy with something anymore. It makes you question. Let me give you an example. I have a friend who used to be in gangs, who used to be a part of a violent gang in which people got hurt, people were doing drugs, a lot of illegal things were happening. Because of his own pain and due to the nonsense that was going on in the situation and environment that he was in, he began to question himself as well as the situation that he was in, as well as the people that he was associated with. Now, for his own good, he believed that it would benefit him to continue to question his own life and how he does things and stop being in a gang altogether. Now, some people will say, yeah, but lacking a belief in deity or stop believing in a God just because bad things have happened to you is stupid. It's dumb. And I would have to say, no, it isn't. If a person is going to a church and the very people who have told them all their life that God is real and God is love and that we're supposed to do this and live like this and yada yada yada, turn around and lie to you and they deceive you and they screw you over, then it's safe to say that if that person is willing to lie to you now, that why is it that they couldn't have lied to you about a God or their belief system? There's one thing I've noticed is whenever you're talking to people, about their religion, they have no idea what a God is. They don't have any more information about what a God is than what we have all read in the Bible, or what we've all read in the Quran, or what we've read in mythology. They have nothing unique or original to bring to the table. There's nothing that religious people can do that is more powerful or more fantastic or extraordinary than what an atheist or a non-believer could do by himself as an individual. Well, some people will say, well, religious people go out and feed the poor. Religious people go out and perform miracles. They don't have any evidence for any of these miracles that they claim. Sure, there's a lot of people claiming to do miracles, but there's not a lot of evidence to back it up. And as many philosophers would tell you, that with extraordinary claims, one requires extraordinary evidence. And that's just the way it is. So yes, I believe that there are a lot of atheists, agnostics out there who have got on the path of atheism or non-belief based solely from the beginning on their personal emotions and how they were treated or how they felt about the environment and the people that they were around. Because when you think about it, it isn't a God that proves that it doesn't exist. It isn't a God who proves that it exists that fucks people up or causes people to believe in the first place. It's people telling other people and ingraining it in each other's heads that there's a God. One of the most powerful things about our society is our marketing and our business. We have gotten to the point in our civilization and culture that we teach people what to think. We teach people how to walk properly, the right clothes to wear, how to speak, what's funny, what's not funny, what is considered morally right, morally wrong. We have taught our people what they ought to believe in and what not to believe in. We, as a people, have decided what is logical, what is appropriate, what is indecent, and everything else. There's not one thing that we speak of or that we feel or thoughts that we've had that are unique from one another. Someone has thought of what you thought of long ago. Someone may have thought about the iPod before the person who put the iPod together came through. The difference is there's some people who come up with great ideas and they don't have the money or the means to be able to invent the object. But there are some people who do have the ability. There is nothing that you can think up in your head or imagine or invent that hasn't already been done. And you may say, well, you don't think that there's going to be any inventions in the future? All the things that will ever be invented or have been invented have already been invented before the object actually stood before us. And you're probably wondering, well, what does that mean? It means that before the telephone was invented, it already existed. It was already going to happen. Does this mean that the future and the present and the past are all written in stone? No. But if it is, if something is, this means that it always was, and it always will be, until the end. And the end is inevitable. There's nothing that one can do about it. There's no way one can change what is. Let me give you an example if you're still confused. You're not dead yet. You're still alive. You still have the ability to make a difference. But at some point in time, you are going to be dead. There's nothing you can do about it. It is something that is already set. There's nothing you can do. We don't know the day, we don't know the time, we don't know when it's going to happen, but from the day that you are born, you're dead. And that's the way it is. And that is the example and the analogy I'm trying to give whenever I say that everything that ever was already is. It's something to think about. Is it logical for someone to get angry? Is it logical for someone to challenge and question the very existence of a god or a deity or some mythological creature? Of course it's logical. I would have to say that it's more logical to question something's existence than it would be to say that it is without absolutely no evidence. And the reason for this is because if we hold on to the idea that everything is possible as long as we say that it is, then the sky is the limit. There's no real difference between that of a psychotic human being and a normal person. There has to be a line drawn. Of course, I heard a really incredible quote one time that I really, really think hits the nail on the head, to be honest with you. There was someone who said at one point in time that the difference between an insane person and a normal person is measured upon the success of that person. And it is also measured upon if they're a good person or a bad person, whether they're psychotic or not. Let me give you an example. There's been many serial killers throughout history, rapists and murderers that have done horrible things. And they got caught and they were destroyed and they were considered psychotic, horrible people who did atrocities that just were not accepted by society. But take on the other hand, most of our own presidents who have been involved in Vietnam, this war that we've had, the leaders that have been killed, Saddam Hussein being hung, some people would probably look at these leaders as successors, are people who are good and right, that they're trying to defend our country, even though our country was the first to attack in this war. Now, some people are going to say, we're not the first ones to attack. We have to keep in mind that we were the first ones to attack the wrong country that wasn't involved in the claims of intelligence that we were given. I hope this makes sense to you. The measure between a good person and a bad person is the success. That seems to be the way we've always dealt with morality and humanity. It's not a good thing, but a lot of people seem to be so twisted in their perception and ideas of what they think is right and wrong, this is what they go along with. It is also the same could be said about the difference between a psychotic human being and that of a genius. A genius is considered someone who is extraordinarily higher in intelligence, who is totally eccentric, who can invent and do wonderful things that normal people wouldn't be able to do. A psychotic person is also considered the same thing, is capable of doing things that are extraordinary and unbelievable that normal people wouldn't do. The difference between the two is which one has the success at what they do and is acknowledged for it, as opposed to the person who is considered the failure because they were caught or destroyed or put down like a sick dog. It's very strange. I myself, I look at the world around me and I have decided that it is inevitable that there will be small little moments in time, whether I exist or not, that there will be differences made in the world, that there will be differences made all over, maybe even in the universe at some point in time, with the hands of humanity. Whether I exist or not, things will happen, things will continue. And when humanity doesn't exist, the universe will go on. It's very strange to think that we mean so little when you think about it. That our life means so little that the world and everyone around us will do just fine whether we exist or not. It's kind of rough, isn't it? There's a lot of people that can't comprehend that. They can't grasp that. They consider their self the corner of the universe, like a planet that is somehow considered important. But they're not. There's nothing important, there's nothing extraordinary, and nothing great about anybody. So when one of these unextraordinary, ununique people pretend as though they are extraordinary and fantastic, and they claim that there's a God, and that that God loves them in some extraordinary way, as though a God, if one were to exist, somehow has singled them out and favored them among the billions of human beings who have unnecessarily had their life removed from them and have suffered obstacles and challenges that no human being should ever deal with. But somehow, God loves them. God will do what they want them to do. He's like the personal messenger who performs miracles and magic tricks for the favored ones. And people have actually convinced themselves it's true. I don't know. I think when we're talking to children about religion, whether we're atheist or whether we're Christian, whether we're Muslim, I think when children ask us the hard questions like, where do we come from? How did we get here? How did the first humans come into play? I think that we should be as honest with them as we know deep down inside we are honest with ourselves. Deep down, under all the lies and under all the bullshit, under all the traditions and customs that our countries and our society has taught us, there is a truth. There is a truth, and the truth is, I don't know. You don't know. Nobody fucking knows. So tell your children the truth. Tell them the facts. And the fact is, and the truth is that you don't know. Science may have some of the truth. They may have some of the pieces of the puzzle. Does religion? Some people believe that religion has fulfilled some of that puzzle with some of its pieces. I personally don't. But that's how they feel. They feel that they've gotten answers from what they believe, as I feel like I've gotten the answers that I need about how we got here and what happened. But when we're honest with ourselves, we both can say, we don't know. And there's nothing wrong with telling a child that you don't know. Because when the child becomes an adult, the child will have the same information that always is and always was as you did. And they'll respect you for it. They'll respect you for it. If you're an atheist parent and you have a child who asks you questions about is there a God or isn't, you'll have to choose if you want to be like a religious person and force your ideas on your child, trying to take away their identity, trying to take away their own thoughts and put your own in their head, or you can just be honest, unlike the religious person or the fanatical atheist whose ego is so high he can't even see over his own bullshit, and just simply say, I don't know. I don't know. This is what I think is the most logical, but it is just that. It's what I think and nothing more. It always is, always was, always will be.